First one I want to talk about is calorie restriction, because I think it's probably the most common. If you want to lose weight, eat less, right? Calories in, calories out. Does it work? Is it that simple? Blow us away.
Okay, so yeah, most common thing is, look, and even that research paper does show that the average person is consuming more calories. So you could say, well,
And probably moving less. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that has been a message very much pushed by the industry, because they don't know the ultra processed food industry. Yeah, because they don't want us to start to distinguish between healthy and unhealthy calories. They go, oh well, we just all need to move more and eat less, and your soda or fast food or whatever ultra processed food that they're pushing can be totally part of a nice, healthy, balanced diet, right? So that's very common, pushed by the industry, and somewhat makes logical sense. Oh, we're just consuming too much, and when we consume too much, then we're, obviously going to gain weight, and obviously it can also push up your blood sugar and have this poor metabolic impact. So there's no question eating excess calories is bad for you. And if you can continuously do that, because you're pushing more food that you need into the system, and it kind of has it's sort of like overdrive on the system and putting way too much pressure. So the obvious one is weight gain. But even like, obviously, your blood sugar is going to be greater because you're consuming too much. Yeah. And that the body has to try to do something with it, store it, whatever. It can affect the liver and has all these knock-on effects. So there's no question that has an impact.
But so, again, it's me, Connor, 27, 50 pounds overweight. I eat an American diet, and I want to lose weight. I'm just going to, let's say I eat 2,500 calories. I'm going to eat 2,000 calories. That's going to work, right? I'm going to get fit and look good.
Okay. So few things, okay? So again, let's look at that framework. So we're not reducing, we are reducing the ultra-processed food. So say in that example, you're dropping your calories by roughly 20%. Let's pretend it was 2,400 calories. Sure. So we can say, roughly speaking. So let's say you reduce your calories by 20%. Well, then by default, if you don't change the structure of your diet, now you're consuming 20% less everything. So let's say you're consuming 20% less ultra-processed food. So you could say, okay, well, that's a little step in the right direction. Now, you're not eliminating ultra-processed food because it's still 60% of your diet, but you're just consuming a little bit less of it. No question that will help your health a little bit. But then on the flip side, the nutrient density, what's happening there? You're eating less nutrient-dense foods as well. That's a major, major problem and flaw with that argument, because if you just prioritize and you're saying, I'm just going to reduce the amount of calories and then that's it, you are going to be malnourished. Yes. And all the research shows this. On vast, vast majority of any calorie controlled, if that's the priority, what happens is, on the scale, of course, you're going to go, well, I'm hungry, but I'm not going to eat. You're going to work against your hunger. You're going to force yourself not to eat. You will lose weight on the scale. Yes. Your blood sugar and everything may get a little bit better because you're consuming a little bit less. So your blood sugar won't rise as much. You won't get as many spikes. So you will get little benefits. But what happens is a lot of the weight loss is actually going to be muscle tissue because you're also consuming less protein and less nutrients for metabolic health. So that's going to counteract. And that's why in all these research studies, they expect when they're just looking at the energy balance and looking at that model, they go, oh, yeah, well, if we do this and you're taking less calories, we expect that you're going to lose 10 kilos or 20 pounds, 22 pounds, whatever it is. But then in actual fact, they only lose like 10% of that in some of these studies. So we're like, why is this not working? Well, number one, your metabolism will slow down. Because now you have less muscle tissue, you're losing muscle, less nutrient density, so the mitochondria and the cells don't have the nutrients they need, so your metabolism slows down. And we went through that again. If you want to go to the weight loss thing, we went through that much more detail in there and really talked about that. So just by doing that, and all the studies show that a year later, people end up putting back on the weight, and in most cases more. So a lot of studies show that. 2007 UCLA went through, I think, 31 of the most popular diets, and their conclusion was don't go on a diet because you'll end up worse than when you started because it's just calorie reduction. And that has been proven not to work. So again, if you think about it, yes, we're consuming too many calories, but if you don't change the quality of those calories, you will fail. So that's 100%.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now there is something to be said. Say I'm 27 and fit and very active, and I eat a very good, well-balanced, whole foods-based diet, and I do want to trim down a little bit. I want to slowly start losing a little bit of body fat. Is it smart for me if I already have a healthy diet? Should I reduce calories by 10 or 20% to lose that little bit of extra body fat? What do you think about that?
So you absolutely can. Now, again, if we're just going back into the weight stuff, my favorite way, and this is the way I work with like 80, 90% of the clients here, is that I focus on, because we have a set point in the hypothalamus, and again, refer to that other podcast where we went into this in detail. So I prefer, it's like the horse and cart situation. To me, the calories is the cart, not the horse, right? So it's like, that's the effect, not the cause. Like, why are we overeating? And again, masses of research, ultra-processed food makes you hungrier because it's not as filling. It tricks your brain into eating more. A lot of these ultra-processed foods are actually designed to cause you to overeat. So, but yeah, I mean, you absolutely can in the short run say, okay, well, I'm going to just, if you have everything dialed in and you're watching all these things, yeah, it'll work fine. And if it's a healthy diet and the right balance of stuff and you reduce calories and you want to get a little leaner, it will work. But if you take into account, again, with the other podcast, the hunger aspect and your set point in the brain and understanding that's going to be important.
Yeah. So it will work and it can be effective, but you do have to count your calories and really track it. Something we've talked about before, probably on the weight loss, is it might be just more effective to change the ratio of the types of food you're doing and keep your calories the same. Maybe add 25% more protein and take down the processed foods or the carbohydrates or sugars down 25%. Just replace the ratio, and that'll probably have a good effect too.
Yeah, because again, we went into this, not all calories are equal. And again, from a health perspective, you don't want to be malnourished. That's not good for your metabolic health, because we're just talking about weight there, but with everything else as well, so important, because again, what is it that causes blood sugar spikes? The type of food is huge. So, and we'll do a whole other one on blood sugar because that deserves its own podcast. But so if you take 100 or like 400 calories of high glycemic carbohydrates or sugar, it's obviously going to spike your blood sugar more than protein or fats, So it's going to have a massive difference on your metabolic health, no question. So it's not just about calories, it's about the quality of calories. So that's what, again, another key takeaway. It's about the quality of calories, not just the quantity. Now, quantity comes into it. If you eat 10,000 calories, even if it's healthy food, way more, you're going to suffer. But it's very hard to do that. Very hard to do that, like really hard. So again, quality over quantity is the big takeaway.
Awesome.